Namaste बच्चे लोग. So I am here with my very first video discussion of an RC passage. This is an RC passage that I had given to my students in the group for practicing, and a lot of the students came back to me saying that they found it to be extremely difficult. Which it is, undoubtedly. This is a difficult passage, but it is also an outstanding passage for anybody to check his or her comprehension ability, because it's a pretty thick passage, and in spite of that, it is written in an extremely beautiful, structured manner. And if you unlock that structure, it will open itself to you like a set of logical reasoning. So I am going to start the discussion under this assumption that you have already attempted this passage. In case you have not, so here is the passage for you. This is page number 1. This is page number 2. This is page number 3. And these are the 4 questions. Cool. So you can pause this video here, attempt this RC passage, and then come back to follow the discussion. But remember, please do attempt this passage once before following the discussion, because otherwise you will not learn as much as you can. Okay, don't worry about the speed. Even if spend 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 45 minutes, or more than that, whatever time you feel is comfortable for you to attempt this passage. Focus on accuracy. And once you do that, if you follow the discussion, you will be able to learn a lot of things, observe a lot of things. Otherwise, वो ना ज्ञान सा हो जाएगा कि मैंने बस तुम्हें बता दिया और तुमने देख लिया, and you are happy, you get a happy-go-lucky feeling, but learning-wise, it won't serve any purpose. So that's it. Stop the video and come back. Fair enough. So I'm assuming that now anyone who is continuing this place onwards has already attempted this passage, so we will begin the discussion. I love this passage, first of all. I love it because of the way it is structured. In my classes, I have always been telling you guys that the most, in non-fiction, there are certain popular manners of writing, of arranging, ideas. One is idea to elaboration, and another is idea to examples. And this is an RC passage that sort of, epitomizes that. It perfectly, shows you how these two ways of arranging ideas actually work. So in this case, the first paragraph of the passage is extremely important. At this stage, let me tell you one thing. A lot of faculty members out there advise their students or tell their students that the idea or the meaning of the passage is usually contained in the first paragraph. I don't agree with that advice. No, I don't. That's not a rule. It just so happens coincidentally that in this passage, the idea is actually contained in paragraph number 1. But based on that, please don't think that it happens with every RC passage. Probably it happens with only 40 to 50% of the passages. That's it. So if you work under that assumption, you will never be able to go past that accuracy level, 40 to 50%. फिर तुम्हारा complaint वही रहेगा कि सर कभी आंसर आ जाता है, कभी 4 में से 4 ठीक हो जाते हैं, कभी 4 में से 0 ठीक होते हैं. That's because you are approaching the passage itself in a wrong manner. Okay. So, but in this one, the first paragraph is extremely crucial. Why? We will see that. So, opening line is that Kinelin and Crocker are out. It does not matter if you know what these two things are or don't know it. Does not matter. Point is something is out. Even I didn't know it when I read this passage. Later on, out of curiosity, I looked for the meaning, but so it doesn't matter. So something is out, and yet there are no activists protesting against it. At the same time, historians can spot the parallels. Why? Because it is a time of rapid technological change. So the author in these 3 lines is trying to tell us that the times are changing, the world is changing, and yet nobody is noticing. Okay, so old things are going out, new things are going in, and yet nobody is noticing. Cool. And then in the next 3 lines, he is giving us what is changing. And those 3 lines are actually his main arguments or his main points. First, he tells us it is a period when the dominance of world superpower is coming under threat. This is his point number one. In the second line, it is saying it is a time or epoch when prosperity masks underlying economic strain. This is point number two, which means economy is not doing, but people are not noticing it because they are prosperous at a superficial level. So everyone thinks things are good. And third, it is a time when policy makers are thinking that all is amazing. So policy makers are under this assumption that everything is awesome, best. Is that assumption right? No. It is not right. Why? Because author has given us two negative points already. So he is saying three things are happening. One, world superpowers dominance is coming under threat. Second, economy is not good. It is, and that fact is masked by prosperity. And third, policy makers are overconfident. And you will notice that he or she is going to repeat the same three things throughout the passage. Next line he says, welcome to the Edwardian summer of the second age of globalization. Now I know that there is a question on Edwardian summer. But in spite of that, I'm telling you, जब तुम ये passage पहली बार पढ़ो, when you are reading it for the first time, you don't need to interpret this term here. Only thing that we need to be consciously aware of is that Edwardian summer has to be something negative. Why? Because right before it, author has given us three negative things about the present state of the world, right? And then he is calling it Edwardian summer, which means Edwardian summer is a negative term, probably negative in an economic sense, from an economic point of view, right? If at all a question is asked on it, then we can come back to the passage, read the portion once again and interpret. Otherwise, that is not needed. So मुझे पता है question है, मैं question के time पे वापस आके then I will do that interpretation. Right now I'm not going to do that because that's not how you should ideally read. Second paragraph पे आते हैं. Second paragraph onwards, once again, I was telling you idea two examples, right? Author has given us three ideas. Paragraph number 2, paragraph number 3, and then paragraph number 4 are just examples to prove these three different ideas. और कुछ नहीं है. क्या है example? First, author is saying that see something is bad. What is bad? Oil prices have skyrocketed to $65. Fact. It's a fact. Why is the author giving us this fact? To prove that economy is under strain. Cool. And then he is telling us, but the accepted wisdom is that we should not worry our little heads, which means policy makers are thinking that even though oil prices are skyrocketing, we don't need to do anything. They will stabilize themselves somehow. Things will get better on their own without any external intervention. अपने आप प्राइस $25 पे आ जाएगा. This is what the policy makers are thinking. So first part is an example to prove that economy is under strain, and second part is an example to prove that policy makers are overconfident. So नई बात दी author ने कुछ नहीं दी. So far author has only given us these 1, 2, 3 arguments or ideas. That's it. Paragraph number 3 is also one big example. Author is telling us that something has happened in France. They have passed some referendum which is going to be bad for European Constitution. क्या है वो referendum? Does not matter. क्यों bad है? Even that does not matter. Point is, why is the author giving us this fact? Because he is trying to tell us something. What is he trying to tell us? What is he trying to tell us? This. The argument went that there was no alternative to the reforms, which means the policy makers are saying that even though these reforms are bad, there was no other way. So policy makers are being overconfident once again. They are ignorant. So author has given us this entire paragraph just to prove that policy makers are being ignorant or overconfident. कुछ नया आया अब तक? नहीं. 3 paragraphs and author has given us only 3 different arguments. जो तुम यहीं के यहीं, you can mark these 3 here itself. No new information has been provided to us. Idea wise, there are a lot of facts. Idea wise, no new information has been provided to us in these 2 paragraphs. Cool. So now we will move to the next passage. Next paragraph, sorry. In paragraph number 4, once again, finally, author is giving us his final example. So far, he is giving us examples. What is his final example? United States. What was his very first argument? His very first idea? It was that in the current scenario, a world superpower's dominion is under threat. This is an example of that. Who is that world superpower? United States. Why is their dominion under threat? Because of China, A, and B, because they are living beyond their means. Once again, these 2 things are not important. Important is that this entire paragraph is one big example to prove yet again that world superpower's dominion is under threat. So we have been through 4 different paragraphs so far. There are so many words, so many facts, so many information, so much of information to confuse you. But idea wise, author has given us only 3 things so far, जो originally first paragraph में बता दी थी उसने. Cool. Which is why I love this passage so much. Now, in this paragraph, he was giving us his final example. So this should have been a hint for a good reader that this 5th paragraph onwards, author is going to provide us something new. Some new argument is going to come. And this is what he has done. So this entire paragraph is divided into 2 portions. One is from this place to this place, and the second is from this place to this place. In the first half of the paragraph, author is giving us a counter argument given by policymakers. Author is telling us that policymakers are overconfident. Why are they overconfident? This is reason number 1. Policymakers are giving us this argument that even though oil prices are going up, they have not had a savage inflationary consequences that they had in the past. Which means things are not as bad as they could have been. Or historically things have been very, very bad. Pathetic example. Today they are not. Why? Because economy is good. That's what policymakers are saying. That things are not as bad as they could have been because economy is good. Does the author agree with that? He does not. That's how we begin the passage. And that's what he is doing in the second half of the paragraph. He is rejecting this argument. He is saying, yet the idea, this idea is fanciful. That means he does not agree with this. Why does he not agree with this? That explanation is provided here. What is that explanation? Author is telling us, see, first of all, that explanation, to be honest, is not that important to understand the structure of this passage. Still, I am giving you that explanation so that you can understand, you can evaluate whether your comprehension was strong or not, good enough or not. So that explanation is, author is saying that if people have less money in their hand, because oil prices have shot up, people will have less money available in their hands to spend on things, to consume things, because of which they will borrow more money from banks and other sources, which will lead to multiple problems. These are those problems. If any of you watching this video is an economics student, then you will be able to relate to these things. I could not. I understand fundamentals of economics, but my economics is not that good for me to understand everything. But I don't need to understand everything, and that's what I want to tell the rest of you who are not good at economics already. That even if you don't understand how this will lead to an inflated asset prices ka problem, or how it will increase the level of indebtedness, or how it will lead to, increase in the balance of payment deficits. Even if you don't understand these three things, it does not matter. The crux of this paragraph is policy makers have given an argument. They say that historically things have been very poor. Today they are not as bad. It is because economy is good, and the author is rejecting it by giving a counter argument, saying that people are going to have less money in their hands to spend on other things, which is going to lead to some problem. Done. That's it. If you understood that much, then your comprehension was impeccable, top notch. You can give yourself 100% marks. If you did not understand that much, then you need to give yourself a rating now. What was the level of your comprehension? 90%, 80%, 70%, 60%, 50%. And accordingly, you should know that your accuracy would have taken a hit as well. So we are through 5 different paragraphs so far. Author has given us 3 ideas, main ideas, things that are happening in world. Basically, economy is bad because a world superpower is under threat and policymakers are overconfident. Then he gave us one argument by policymakers to prove that economy is good, and then he gave us his counter argument to reject it. That's what has happened so far in this passage. Now we will move to the next page. Cool. Hanji. So in next paragraph, he has continued the story from the previous paragraph. Even in this paragraph, this paragraph can be divided into 2 different parts. So one is from this place to this place, and second is from this place to the rest of the story. So the first half of the paragraph is giving us policy makers argument number 2. So policy makers are giving an argument once again to prove that there is no need to worry, economy is good. What is that argument? They are saying that modern industrial capitalism is very strong. It has been through a lot of problems in past, yet it has never collapsed, which means even this time it won't collapse, things will be good, so don't worry, economy is awesome. This is their argument number 2. And in the second half of the paragraph, author is rejecting it. Author is giving a counter argument once again. Same structure जैसा पिछले paragraph का था. Cool. What is author's counter argument? Author has actually given 3 different counter arguments this time. The first, second, finally third. So all these 3 paragraphs are giving us 3 different counter arguments to the argument given by the policymakers, and these 3 are the same arguments which author mentioned in paragraph number 1. What are these 3 arguments? ये देखो, oil prices, right? Global balance of power, and then Kanga, what's the third one? We have been here before, which means historically. Cool. So probably this is slightly new, but these 2 are the same old arguments. So we have been here before, that historically something like this has happened. Second is US wali thing, that there is a global imbalance of power, shift in global balance of power, which means time is very, very fragile and something bad can happen, which is maybe being masked away. And third, once again, oil prices. Baki sab kuch fact hai. So the entire passage is over, and this can be reduced to just this storyline, that the author is saying economy is not as good as people think it is, because there is once global superpowers dominion is under threat, because oil prices are going high, and because because economy is under a lot of strain, and because policymakers are overconfident. Then he told us how policymakers are over. Then he gave us 3 examples, so forget that. Then he told us why policymakers are overconfident. They are giving us 2 arguments. Those 2 arguments are that historically things were very, very bad. Today they are not as bad as they could have been, which means that economy is pretty decent. Second argument by policymakers is that capitalism has never has faced a lot of difficulties in the past. and it has sort of, recovered from everything. So even this time we need not worry. And then in the rest of the passage, he is simply proving the arguments given by the policymakers to be wrong, to be false. This is this passage. That's it. If you understood this, your comprehension is impeccable at 100% rating. You should give it. If you did not decode it to this level, then probably, as I said, you need to give yourself a rating right now. Even if you understood, even if you understood it, at a good level, even if your comprehension was maybe 80 to 85%, it was good enough. But if you right now think that no, probably I was focusing a lot on facts, not on the ideas behind those facts, and you are giving yourself a rating of 70%, 60%, 50%, or even lesser than that, then something is fishy. Then future में you are not supposed to come to me ever or drop me a message ever saying that सर मुझसे ना बस options में confusion होती है. Confusion options में नहीं होती है. Problem comprehension का है. You just think कि problem option में आ रही है. No, problem comprehension का है. Because you are not able to capture it anywhere, because no one is able to tell you कि बेटा तुम्हारा comprehension weak है, तुमको ऐसा लग रहा है कि मुझसे options evaluate नहीं हो पाते. It's a big misconception जो 80% students में होता है. ठीक है? So that's it. Now we will attempt the questions. I suggest one thing. Go back now. Maybe try to give a fresh attempt to questions with this understanding of the passage, and see if you would like to change your answers, because that would give you another level of understanding about your ability to attempt RC procedures. Okay. So if you would like to do that, pause this video, go back and attempt all the questions again with this newfound understanding, and then you can resume this video once again. All right, so now we are going to discuss the questions, and with this understanding that you have already given these questions 2 different attempts, and so which is why after this discussion you will have a very clear-cut idea of how good or bad your comprehension is and how good or bad your option evaluation skills are, and you will begin. Which of the following best represents the key argument? Key argument to author ne bas 3 diye, which were all mentioned in paragraph number 1 itself, right? So we are looking for that. The rise in oil prices, flux in, that's it. This is what rise in oil prices, flux in global balance of power, and historical precedents should make us question our belief that the global economic prosperity would continue. Perfect. It captures all 3. Chances are this is the answer. Even then, I'm not going to mark it as a final answer, because it is always better to eliminate options than to select options. Okay, so I'm going to keep it aside and I will come to option number B. The belief that modern industrial capitalism modern industrial capitalism was one of the 2 arguments given by policymakers, right, which author rejected, which means this is a very narrow way of looking at the passage, right? This is just one of the arguments given by policymakers which author rejected. Author has said much more than that in the passage. So this we can reject because it is focusing on a very small thing. See, widespread prosperity leads to neglect of हमेशा होता है क्या? Leads to neglect of early signs. हर बार होता है. We don't know that, ना? It is happening today maybe. It might have happened sometime in past. We don't know. हमेशा होता है? No idea. We can reject. C. Hard reject. D. A crisis is imminent in the West. Imminent in the West. My goodness. First of all, author is nowhere saying a crisis is imminent. Author is simply saying economy is not as good as people think it is. Whether a crisis will happen tomorrow, after a year or 2 years, author is not saying that at all. And his focus is not on the West only. He's talking about global economy, right? So B can also be rejected. A wins. A is the answer. Question number 2. What can be inferred about the author's view when he states, as Tommy Cooper used to say just now? If I remember correctly, this is coming from paragraph number 2, जिसमें author had given us an example of rise in oil prices. to prove that economy is in bad shape. And then he had given us a statement saying that policymakers think there is no need for an external intervention. Oil prices अपने आप ही ठीक हो जाएंगे, right? यानी कि author का intention क्या था कहने का, that policymakers are overconfident. This problem is not going to correct itself. Someone needs to do something. So जो भी इन दो चीजों को कैप्चर कर रहा होगा, that economy is bad and policymakers are overconfident, sort of that, जो भी that whichever option is giving us that negative sense, that will be our answer. A, industry has incentive to build new production refining and therefore oil would reduce. No, this is a positive statement. This is what the policymakers think. Author does not agree with it. Rejected. There would be a correction in the price once new production capacity is added. Once again, a positive statement. This is what the policymakers think. They are overconfident. Author does not agree with them. Rejected. C, the decline in oil prices likely to be short-term in nature. A positive statement. This is what the policymakers think. Once again, author does not agree with them. C is also rejected. D, it is not necessary that oil prices would go down to earlier. Negative statement. The only negative statement out of these four options. This is what author's true opinion is. So बाकी तीनों policymakers की opinion है, ये author की opinion है. This was actually an extremely easy question. If you got it wrong, comprehension का issue है, option evaluation का issue नहीं है. क्योंकि option evaluation का दिक्कत ही क्या है? See, three options are giving us the opinion of policymakers, and only one option is giving us the opinion of the author. So if you get this wrong, there is no way that you could not compare the options correctly. Compare करने के लिए कुछ है ही नहीं यहाँ. Compare करने के लिए वहाँ होता है where you get two confusing close options. We don't have two confusing two close options here. If you got this wrong, it is only and only because of comprehension. Okay, now we'll move forward. Question number 3. All right. What, according to author, has resulted in a widespread belief in the resilience of modern capitalism? So I think this is coming from that second argument of the policymakers, right? That paragraph where the policymakers had said that modern capitalism cannot fall because it has been through a lot. So let's do one thing. Let's go back to that, paragraph and read it once again quickly. Yeah, this was that. This 250 years, I remember. So we are saying that a sign of the ending of the system has been the way it has apparently shrugged off everything. It has withstood everything. What everything? A stock market crash, 9/11, rising oil prices. Whichever option is giving us these three things. It's a fact-based question, not an idea-based question. Whichever option is giving us these three things, that option is right. Cool. So let's go back to the questions again. Yo. Option number 1, growth in the economies of growth की कहीं बात नहीं हो रही है Western countries में, despite shocks in the form of increase in the level of indebtedness and inflated asset prices. No, we are looking for oil prices, 9/11 and fall in the stock market. Sorry, growth की बात हो रही थी actually. I was wrong there. इन दो चीजों की बात नहीं हो रही थी. B, increase in the prosperity of Western countries and China despite rising oil. China की कहीं बात नहीं हुई है देखो भाई. Right? It was about the Western countries and the world. One of the things is mentioned, oil prices, but China की बात कहीं नहीं हुई है. So we can park it aside. It will be a soft reject because China is incorrect. I'm still rejecting it, but a soft reject. So if all the other two options are really bad, then maybe we can select it, but otherwise it will be rejected because of China and because it is giving us only one of the three reasons. See, continued growth of Western economies despite a rise in terrorism is 9/11, increase in oil prices and similar shocks. Yeah, get stock market. That's it. This is B is rejected now because C is much better than B. C is covering everything. Cool. Park the side. The success of continued reforms aimed at making Western economies more dynamic, competitive. ऐसा कहीं भी कुछ नहीं है. C is rejected. D is rejected. C is our answer. Question number 4. By the expression now we have to interpret Edwardian summer, and only now will we go back to interpret that. But before that, remember Edwardian summer is a negative term from an economic perspective. So first we will reject all the positive options. The author refers to in which there is unparalleled luxury and opulence, rejected. It's a positive term. We are looking for something negative. A sense of complacency among people because of all-round prosperity. Those of you who don't know the meaning of complacency, it means overconfidence. It's a negative term. We can park B aside. A culmination of all-round economic prosperity, once again slightly positive. So C is rejected. D. An imminent danger lurking behind economic prosperity. Imminent danger, negative term, we can park it aside. So now we have to choose one of these two options. यहाँ पे if you tell me कि sir ये question मेरा गलत हुआ because options के बीच में I get confused, I can buy that argument because we have two different options to choose one which qualify to be an answer. So if you choose one of B and D, then and your answer turns out to be wrong, it is an issue of option evaluation. If you chose either of A or C, the issue was of comprehension, not of option evaluation. So now we can go back. Actually, we don't need to go back. Author is nowhere talking about an imminent danger. Imminent. अभी पीछे भी किसी क्वेश्चन में आया था. Author is nowhere saying that tomorrow everything will go bad. कल तबाही आ जाएगी. Author is not giving us a timeline. He is only telling us economy is not as good as people think it is. And policymakers are overconfident, and complacency is precisely that. It is overconfidence, which is why we can reject B because of these two words, and B will become the answer. Crystal clear? All right. So I hope that this class was of this video was of some use to you. I hope you learned something. I will try my best to upload more such videos from time to time, maybe at least 2-3 videos in a week. So yeah, so it will be good if you think this video was helpful, do subscribe to this channel. More importantly, if you felt that this video was helpful, do share it with those friends of yours who are preparing for CAT, and especially those who are hardworking kids. Because see, verbal is all about hard work. That's it. And this way of learning, it is hard work. I can give you a shortcut once again saying that RC passage ka idea is contained either in the first paragraph or in the last paragraph, but I don't do that. I always take the more difficult route, which is probably going to take you to 98-99 percentile. Shortcuts are only going to take you to 80-85 at max 90, not beyond that. So those students who struggle with English, those students who are hardworking, please do share it with them, because as a teacher, my objective is to reach as many different students as possible, help as many kids as possible. So if I could be of help to some students out there who are weak at English, who are scared of English, who find it difficult to improve their verbal skills, I will be thankful to you, genuinely. Second thing, that if there is any particular feedback you would like to share with me on this video, because this is the first time I am doing this here. I am also new at it. So if there's anything you would like to recommend me, suggest me to improve the quality of these videos, drop in a comment, or you can tell me in the group as well. If there's one thing I have learned in life, it is that in your learning journey, the most important thing is a personal feedback. So, which is why in my classroom, in my classes, I try to give as many personal feedbacks to students as possible. But in this case, I am your student because I am new to this, and you are in the right place to evaluate it. So help me learn. Help me in my learning journey by giving me feedback. I will genuinely appreciate it. And that's pretty much it. See you guys again. Thanks a lot.